Welcome in to our 2 o'clock streaming hour. I'm Ariel Onstott. It's so good to have you streaming along with us. We've got a busy day of news. I want to take you out to some live pictures where we know the government shutdown continues on Capitol Hill. That shutdown entering its 15th day. Now, we are aware some military members are reporting they did get paid today. But meanwhile, in Jerusalem, as you can see by this image here on your screen, you're taking a live look where funerals are happening for 2 hostages that were recovered from Gaza. Now, these 2 funerals are underway in Jerusalem today, and one burial is going to be for Guy Aluz, who was kidnapped on October 7th, 2023. The other, Daniel Peretz, was captured when his tank crew battled Hamas militants, also on October 7th. So these funerals are happening, burials happening in Jerusalem, and we'll continue to keep you updated a little bit later on the government shutdown and as to what is going on, the latest on the Hamas and Israel ceasefire. But first, I want to bring you back here closer to home as we follow some big news into our newsroom. Heartbreaking. We have learned that the body of a child, a missing baby, was found, and the father is suspected in this baby's disappearance. Our Eric Perry has been following the latest on this story. We know that the father has been arrested, and I want to let you listen to what Eric has found out.
We're getting a closer look to where the body of that 6-month-old is believed to have been found here, which is relatively very close to the apartment complex he was reported missing here, still on the property. Antonio Pierce is the child's father. He's considered a suspect. He was arrested. Several charges, as investigators say they found inconsistencies in his story. Foul play is expected in the death of his son, of 6-month-old there. This is video from when Pierce went before a Clayton County judge this morning around 11 o'clock. He was denied bail. Take a listen.
Provide contradictory statements in an investigation of a missing child, and when witness accounts verified your contradictory statements, you admitted to concealing and falsifying material facts. At this point, I am not able to set a bond in your case because of your recent criminal history, your out-of-state criminal history, and the nature and the basis of these charges. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Pierce was arrested originally on unrelated charges, including traffic violations, drug charges there. We do want to point out Pierce has not been charged with murder. Of course, that investigation will continue here. Pierce originally described to police an armed robbery taking place and kidnapping, telling investigators he was robbed at gunpoint and that robbers took his baby from a car before they took off. Now, we do want to point out Pierce does have a record. Back in 2022, he was charged with simple battery and cruelty to children. We have learned the 6-month-old has a twin sister there who is now in with the mother. Investigators do not believe she is involved. We are hoping to get more information from investigators just how that body was discovered just after 7 p.m. last night here, so close to the apartment complex. Of course, stick with us. We'll have the latest for you. In Clayton County, I'm Eric Perry, Fox 5 News.
Just a heartbreaking story. I do want to let you guys know about another story we've been following here in our newsroom, and this involves the DeKalb County School Board meeting this morning to discuss the next steps after their previous superintendent was placed on paid leave. You may remember Superintendent Devin Horton was placed on leave because of a federal indictment at his previous district in Illinois. Our Kevin Stewart was following up on this. He was there listening in, and so I want to let you listen to what Kevin is finding out.
The school board has been in executive session since 9 o'clock. We don't know what they're doing behind closed doors right now, but typically during executive session, you're talking about things like good name and character and personnel decisions. So the question is Superintendent Devon Horton's status about to change? Of course, he is on paid administrative leave. I can tell you that Horton and his co-defendants have been scheduled to be arraigned in federal court this afternoon in Chicago, but that appearance has been postponed, and according to court records, it will be reset after consultation with parties. So we will continue to stand by and wait for any new developments. But for now, we're in DeKalb County. Kevin Stewart, Fox 5 News.
And it's important to note, you know, like Kevin was saying, the board met in closed-door executive session. They would have to take any official actions publicly, and we'll continue to keep you updated as Kevin follows the latest on this story. Another story that's pretty wild that we've been following involves a shooting in Henry County that actually led to a high-speed chase here in Atlanta, and that car flipped upside down in Buckhead. So this actually happened early this morning, overnight, and our Lindsay Tuman was out for Good Day following up on this. So I want to let you listen to what Lindsay is finding out.
The chase finally came to an end right here behind me near Piedmont Hospital, but it started all the way in Henry County. We're still trying to learn the exact circumstances behind it. A shooting in Henry County started a police chase that spanned 3 counties before ending in a crash. It started after Henry County police released a be on the lookout notice for a suspect vehicle involved in that shooting. Clayton County deputies spotted the vehicle coming into the county, and when deputies tried to pull it over, the driver wouldn't stop. That sparked a chase heading north on I-75. Investigators say the suspect vehicle hit another car right before I-20, then headed into Atlanta before hitting 3 more cars along Peachtree. Finally, the chase ended after 8:30 last night after the car flipped over near Piedmont Hospital. All of the deputies involved were reported safe. Still a lot of questions in this case, including the exact circumstances behind that shooting in Henry County that sparked all of this, as well as if there were any injuries from any of those 4 crashes, and the name of the driver and if that person is facing any charges. As soon as we get those answers, we'll keep you updated. But for now, that's the very latest reporting in Buckhead. I'm Lindsay Tuman for Fox 5 News.
And bringing you back here into the newsroom, I do want to let you know about a situation still unfolding in the Middle East. I want to bring you back to some live images in Jerusalem. You're taking a look at a burial ceremony for one of the dead hostages that Hamas returned to Israel this week. And that peace agreement between Israel and Hamas does continue to hold, but it is being tested. And the reason is Israel is pushing Hamas to release the bodies of the dead hostages. As you may remember, 20 living hostages were returned to Israel in exchange for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners early this week. But as we are witnessing, now Israel wants all of the bodies of the dead hostages returned. Hamas says this is challenging after 2 years of war. They're struggling to find all of the bodies, and they say they want more time. Israel says it's going to cut in half the number of aid trucks flowing into Gaza until all of the hostages have been returned. Officials in Gaza say the widespread destruction in the territory is making this handover difficult. We know that 4 more coffins were returned Tuesday, bringing the total of dead hostages returned this week to 8. But 20 families are still waiting for closure. You're taking a look again at that burial ceremony there, and in the top right, you see another procession. And I want to let you guys know there are 2 burials underway in Jerusalem right now, and those 2 burials, one is for a man who was kidnapped during the October 7th massacre by Hamas in 2023. The other burial is a captain who was in the Israeli army, also captured on October 7th. We know their names are Guy Iluz and Daniel Peretz. And again, this burial ceremony happening in Jerusalem right now. We've been watching these live images for about 10 minutes now. These burial ceremonies do take a lot of time. You can see members of the army there, as well as rabbis and other dignitaries. We'll continue to keep you updated as this progresses, but keep in mind, one of the things that we're keeping an eye out for is if the remaining hostages are not returned within 72 hours, an international task force is going to work to start locating them. Though President Trump has declared war in the region to be over, there is still tension in the region. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this situation unfolds. But again, you were looking at in the left there, live images in Jerusalem as this burial ceremony is underway. Guys, coming up, I do want to get you a check of our weather forecast. That is something we are following, especially as drought continues to touch so many of our communities here in Metro Atlanta. If you're down south, you definitely know that corridor through Coweta, Noonan, feeling the effects of little rain. So Alex Forbes standing by. We're going to bring him in just a little bit, and we're going to get you guys an update on what to expect. That's coming up. Welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstad here with Alex Forbes, meteorologist Alex Forbes. And Alex, I saw a little bit of water as we were coming in, and
Really?
I definitely think that it would be nice to be on the lake right about now.
It would be nice. I tell you what, the lake could use a little bit of help, though. We're looking from Port Royale Marina. You see the islands there in the foreground, and you see a little too much brown around the islands.
You do, yeah.
It's the first time, really, the past week and a half that we've begun to notice, like, okay, you know, the water's a little low, and here comes a boat where it is, you know, in the upper 80s, or not upper 80s, excuse me, upper 70s, low 80s out there. Somebody out there enjoying the lake. Little do they know they're on Fox 5 right now.
Right. Maybe they have room for 2 more. Sorry, guys. Alex and I are headed out.
Exactly. All right. Hey, let's get a check of these lake levels, because there is one thing I really want to point out, in the fact that there is a lake that is significantly down in west central Georgia, but it's not actually because of the weather. So West Point Lake was drawn down about 10 feet below where it normally is because they're working on the dam. So if you're out there looking at West Point Lake, it's not the drought necessarily, for the reason being that it's as low as it is. But you look at Lanier, you look at Hartwell, you look at Allatoona, there are 4, 4, and 6 feet down. That is weather related. That was not necessarily planned. So we could use the help, and those numbers are indicative of the drought situation that we've seen develop. Now, this map that I'm showing you now, it's on its last leg. We're going to get an updated one tomorrow morning.
Got it. Okay.
So this is really as of last Tuesday. They just took the new readings yesterday, and we're going to get that early tomorrow
I'm
morning.
glad I remembered correctly, Alex, because I remember us talking about how Noonan, Coweta, our southern counties are feeling the effects of this drought more than others. Why is that?
So it's a mix of things. One, it's the soil type, right?
All right.
It's the soil, and the amount of granite is a little different from the northern part of the state to the central part of the state. But then also it can be just as simple as that area hasn't seen as much rain on these days where we've seen those pop-up showers and storms. I would point out that Hartsfield-Jackson is considered to be in severe drought in that map right there. And that is a spot where we have not seen more than a ½ inch of rain in 50-plus days. I believe we're closing in on 55 or 56 days since we've last seen a ½ inch of rain there in a 24-hour period. So yeah, it's Clayton, Fayette, Coweta, Meriwether, Pike, and Upson counties are in severe drought. But that's not to discount Paulding, Cobb, Forsyth, Cherokee, Carroll, where you're still in moderate drought. And it's possible that when we get this update tomorrow, you see that orange area expand into some of those areas that are currently considered to be in moderate drought.
I would not be surprised. And, you know, it's funny, for those of you streaming along with us, you know, you come in for a weather update and then you get a geology lesson here with Alex Forbes. But it's really cool because everything affects each other, right? We're in an ecosystem, and all of these things are tied. So as we're looking ahead, are there any chances for us to see some rain or potentially make up for some of this drought?
I don't think to make up for, but to see some rain, that's definitely going to be in the picture. Today, not so much. It's a warm one out there. 81. Ooh, yeah. It's on the warm side, 82 in Rome, 76 up there in Blairsville. That 76 sounds nice, but that's where Atlanta should be right now, not Blairsville. 81 down in Eatonton. And we are going to be looking at 70s and 80s here for the next couple of hours. You can see we're already running ahead of our forecast there. It is worth noting that our average high today is 86. So we're going to come kind of close to that. Might break it. We'll see. Officially, we're forecasting 84 in Atlanta, 80 in Canton, 81 in Gainesville, 82 in Eatonton. But again, we're coming close. Now, your question about the rain, we are going to have the opportunity to see some. And just by looking at the temperatures, you're going to take a stab at when that might be.
I'm going to guess Sunday.
So we're going to have a front come through. And that front is going to put our temperatures back to where they should be for mid-October. But that's not going to stay there. You see, by Tuesday, we get back up to 81. I think where you're really going to feel it are some of these morning low temperatures. You see Monday morning, we get down to 50 here in the city, right? That means low 40s, maybe even a couple of upper 30s up across the mountains, certainly putting you here in the Halloween spirit. 16 days away.
Wow.
18 days until our sun sets at 5:45.
Oof.
43 days to Thanksgiving and 71 days till Christmas. But yes, this rain chance, that is going to be on Sunday, and that might impact the Georgia Apple Festival forecast, which we have one more check of for you here. Temperatures in the 70s both days with showers and storms possible there on Sunday.
Okay, good to know. And our week ahead looks lovely. Not as many low 50s as I'd like to see, Alex, but
and
I'm
mind
sure
you,
we'll go back.
That's just here in the city, right? You get outside 285, you're going to see a more substantial substantial difference.
Love that. Alex, thank you so much for the update. Okay, guys, so the next thing on our agenda, Alex, the Navy actually stopped by a high school and showed a mixed reality kind of simulator to high school students. Eli Jordan went to go check it out. I'm sure this is kind of a recruiting tool for the Navy and letting kids know what to expect. So let's check in with Eli and see what it was all about.
That's right. I'm out here at Union Grove High School in McDonough, where the Navy has a strike force out here to, recruit some interested students who are thinking about joining the military. Now, the Navy, I would say, is the most technologically advanced branch in the U.S. military. And so, this is like geared towards like STEM students, but also too, Alex over here seeing if he could be a Navy SEAL. Alex, how'd you do?
Outstanding, sir.
So how many push-ups you get pulled off?
I'd say I could do about 70, sir.
Cool. You can call me Eli. It's
Good to
okay.
go, Eli.
So tell me, have you gone through the setup here? You're a student here at Union Grove, correct?
Yes, sir.
And are you in the ROTC program?
I am, sir. I'm the commanding officer of the ROTC here.
I can tell because you have a really good disciplined manners there, sir. And so tell me, what do you think about the Navy coming down here with their strike force and showing off, using this? This is kind of a new thing.
Yes, sir. So I think the Navy's opportunity to come down here and talk to some of our high schoolers is just a great opportunity, give them a real immersive experience to get real hands-on kind of activity that most high schoolers would really never get an opportunity to do.
So did you do this right here?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell me about what was going on in here.
So you actually take place in the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is one of the
aircraft
biggest
carrier.
Yes, sir, an aircraft carrier. It's one of the most technologically advanced in our country's Navy.
And so, is this like virtual reality?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're just coming through here. We're live on TV right now. And so, tell me, what was it like? What were you seeing?
Yes, so I was actually the boatswain's mate, which is a really cool opportunity where I could direct air traffic control and kind of actually launch the ships themselves, launch the planes themselves. And some of my companions were actually able to fly the ships and man our air traffic control towers.
So did it give you a better idea of what it would be like on an aircraft carrier?
Oh yes, 100%, sir. So it gives you that kind of like in-person experience to what it would actually be like, not just as much on paper, but more of a virtual reality approach.
So you did this on the aircraft, had the aircraft carrier, and over here we had the Navy SEAL training
Yes, sir.
demo, but over here we have the submarine demo, right?
Yes, sir.
So how was that like? What did you think about it?
I thought the submarine experience was a really great leadership opportunity that we could work together as a team to actually be able to sail our ship.
And do you want to be in the sub?
I would really enjoy being in a sub, sir.
Is that what you hope to do? When you,
Yes, sir. I would really hope to be a nuclear engineer in the Navy, sir.
So you plan on going to the Navy, Alex? All right.
Yes, sir.
So I'll tell you what, Alex, I want to grab that mic from you.
Yes, sir.
And so now we have Tunique and we have Cotton. So tell me, Tunique, what do you think about this setup the Navy has out here, on display at Union Grove High School?
I believe the setup here has really helped the students understand how the Navy works and different ways that we could be involved in the Navy, such as different jobs. They have navigator, nuclear engineer, pilot, weapons control. They have all these different ideas that's hands-on and that students can know.
Kind of like what they're stepping into if they decide they want to be in the submarine?
Exactly.
So I'll tell you what, saying this over to Cotton, you want to be in the Space Force.
Yes, sir.
What is this demonstration, the strike force by the Navy? How effective is it, would you say, to give, students an idea of what it's like, I guess?
For like in the military in general or in Navy?
Just, what do you think about this whole setup, because this is new. They got virtual reality stuff and,
Yes.
Navy SEAL training.
I mean, it's definitely a lot more exciting for especially high schoolers than just sitting at a recruiting office just doing paperwork. So I think it really gets people, interested in what's going on and what people do. It's like she said, it's a lot more hands-on.
So what do you plan on doing? You're in the ROTC, Navy Junior ROTC here.
Yes, sir.
As are you, Tunique, but you're not going in the military.
No, sir.
But Cotton, you are.
Yes, sir.
And tell me the branch you said you want to be on again?
I want to do Space Force, sir.
And you want to go into space and...
Not in space. That sounds scary.
You don't want to go to protect Earth from aliens and things like that?
I'll do that, but
silly.
not in space, probably.
Well, awesome. But overall, what kind of grade would you guys give the Navy on this setup they have brought to Union Grove High School?
I mean, I'd say definitely an A+. you can't see it in the camera or probably hear it, but there's a lot of people yelling out there, pretty excited. So
Alex?
10 out of 10 for me, sir. I think this experience has honestly been a very, very lucky experience for not only our NJROTC cadets at the school, but some of our other actual high school students to get hands-on experience and maybe a look into a future career that they might decide to go through.
Cherie, what's your final grade?
I believe this is 10 out of 10 as well because of the hands-on experience, and as they mentioned earlier, all these different things, getting students involved into Navy future careers is definitely a really good experience for them to have in high school.
Awesome. You guys did great. Thank you very much, and good luck to your future. And I know you guys are looking towards graduation. So there you have it, guys. The U.S. Navy with their strike force here at Union Grove High School. It gets an A from the junior Navy ROTC officers here at Union Grove High School in McDonough. And if you missed this event this weekend and you're interested in what all is going on, they will be in Rome at the air show in Rome this weekend, coming up with the same setup. So I would suggest maybe check it out if you're interested. Yeah, but it's really neat what the Navy has done here at Union Grove High School and Henry County Schools in McDonough. Back to you guys.
Looks like Eli always has a lot of fun on assignment. Well, guys, I do want to get a check of a really cool story we want to bring you, which is this month, a lot of people participate in Sober October, a way to abstain from alcohol and focus on health and also mental clarity. In 2024, roughly 28 million people reported they suffered from alcohol use disorder. So I want to bring in Beth, who is an author, who has some personal stories to share. Beth, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored. Hey, everyone.
Beth, say your last name for me. I want to make sure I don't mispronounce it.
Well, it's named right after the town you were just talking about, McDonough.
I love. Okay, that's perfect then. So Beth McDonough. So tell me a little bit about your journey. I understand you have a book coming out and you're working from your personal experience to help others who may battle alcohol use disorder.
Absolutely. And I'm so happy you brought up a statistic like that, because it's important for people to realize like the magnitude of the problem. And here we are halfway into Sober October. In the recovery world, we kind of call it the season of recovery, because you've got Sober October, then you have November, and then Dry January. So those are some things that people can be aware of, to just know, hey, if you want to give it a shot and try sobriety and quit or abstain from alcohol, there's never been a better time than now. And as for my story, I was a newscaster like yourself for 30 years, and I worked all over the U.S., and Philadelphia, some time in New York, Houston, Missouri, Oklahoma City, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and I worked for all the networks at one time or another. And it was when I was working for KMSP Fox in Minneapolis that I got my first DUI in 2007, shortly after the 35W bridge collapsed into the river, the Mississippi River. And at that time, my boss, I got in some trouble, but my boss also extended me a lifeline. He said, Beth, if you have a problem, we will get you help. We'll send you to treatment. You know, we're here to support you. We'll get you help. And shame being what shame is, because no one wants to grow up and be labeled an alcoholic. And I certainly didn't. You know, I've covered mass disasters for a living, and you get to be pretty strong. You get a backbone doing that line of work. And I just couldn't at that time bring myself to acknowledge that I was an alcoholic, that I had a serious problem, that I couldn't control it, that it controlled me. And my boss said, you know, this will be your one and only warning. You're going to be suspended. You'll get in trouble. But if this ever happens again, just know that you're fired, because Fox has a zero tolerance policy. And I white-knuckled it for a little bit, like a lot of people do, because I thought, you know, I'm smart, I'm motivated, I don't want this problem. Nobody wants the problem. And no one thinks they're, you know, growing up, this will be a good time to become an alcoholic. And so I really tried to get on top of it. But it turns out I just kind of white-knuckled my way that next year. And by 2008, it was actually this month, 16 years ago, that I got my second DUI on Halloween night. And I used to go out, I worked the late news, so we would go out, after the late news and maybe have some drinks, blow off some steam, decompress in the hopes that you don't take home what you've seen that day and absorb any of that trauma. And I was a blackout drinker. I was driving home after being out with some friends, and I hit another driver on the highway at 80 miles an hour. And I don't remember the accident at all. I still don't to this day. He wasn't hurt. His car was damaged. But by the time I pulled up to my house, the police were already there waiting for me. And I, went in and out of this blackout that I had. And I woke up about 36 hours later then in a drunk tank, a holding cell at the county jail, surrounded by a bunch of other women. And they were all watching the huge TV monitor in this cell. Because what do you do to pass your time? You talk about what you do, what got you here, and you're watching TV. And lo and behold, my mugshot popped up right as I was kind of coming to. And I'm looking at the TV monitor, and there's my mugshot. And then, of course, there are the newscasters replaying what had happened, which is my first indication of what I'd done because I'd been in a blackout. And I knew right then, I just had dread filling my soul, and I knew my life as I knew it, was very, very over. And when my boss called me, when I did get out of jail, my boss called me and said, come to the station. We have some paperwork to fill out. And it gets even more humiliating because I had 2 DUIs in Minnesota in 10 years. They take away your driver's license and they can seize your car and sell it at auction, which they did. So I couldn't even drive to the TV station. So I asked my boss for a taxi, and they were kind enough to provide a taxi, and I got to the TV station and took my licks. And it's, when you work for a boss that you really respect and you enjoy and you like, and I love my job, I live for my job. I loved that intersection of being a reporter, that intersection of being at the center of chaos and adrenaline. And, he said, you helped to put us on the map, and but you can't be a crime reporter when you commit a crime. So as of today, you're no longer of service to us. And we kept the taxi for you. You can take it home or you can go to treatment. It's up to you. And that was just like disappointing your father, a stab to my heart. And it wasn't until I got to treatment that I learned a few things that I'd like to pass along. Because people used to say about me, I would have one drink and I would be like, blue. They were like, boy, you went from 0 to 100 in no time. Why? How? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I have a low tolerance. I don't know. Well, while in treatment and you meet with all the doctors and the medical experts and the addiction therapist. And so I learned that we women in particular are predisposed to becoming intoxicated much quicker. In fact, 30% more than men, because we have more body fat. And then we have less water in our bodies, and we have less of an enzyme needed to break down alcohol. Well, conversely, men have more water in their bodies, less fat. Darned it. But what that means is, that the alcohol dissolves in a man's system much faster than a woman's. And that's why you'll see that we women, get intoxicated much quicker, and it affects us a great deal more. And so that really helped to medically explain why I went from 0 to 100 and maybe why other women do as well.
Yeah. Beth, this is, fascinating because you've touched on so many themes I think people can relate to, which more than anything, it's that feeling of shame, and journalism and being a reporter, I mean, you can see so many stressful, scary situations that just like being a doctor or someone else, first responder, someone who works in trauma, if you don't take the time to process what you're going through, your body will process it for you, sometimes in ways that helps you. For someone who's listening, maybe it would help them as well. In the final minute that we have here.
Absolutely. So my book is called Stand By, which is a TV term that you're very familiar with, kind of that moment of being suspended in limbo, having no idea what's going to happen next. And I lost everything, my job, my life, my income, my house, my car, friends, family members. So it was a tough haul. I threw an atomic bomb in my life. And what I hope people see in the book is, number one, it's a companion for them and a tool. But you know, it's a memoir, so it's me, 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 but really it's about you as well. It's hoping that anyone can see themselves, whatever their struggle is, in my struggle, in my surrender, and also my strength. And a couple of things that I like to reinforce to people is, number one, you can be broken and you can be brave.
Yeah.
And every single day you can wake up and you make a choice to course correct. And there has never been a better time on this earth for the world to accept messy stories. People will step in and help people who help themselves.
Yes, Beth, I think I wish I had more time to speak with you this afternoon, but it has been an absolute pleasure to have you. Sober October, I know so many people who are experiencing addiction and just working to say, hey, how do I find a way out of this? And I think breaking down that shame and stigma is so important. So Beth McDonough, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And Sober October, everybody.
Beth, thank you. And thank you guys so much for streaming along with us. Here coming up, we're going to get a check of the government shutdown. We're going to look here locally at how our colleges and universities are handling this in some aspects. And that's coming up in just a little bit. Well, welcome back. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for streaming along here with me. It is so good to see you here on our Wednesday afternoon. Guys, I know a lot of us are still feeling the effects of the government shutdown. Our military members, many of them reporting they did get paid today, but Congress is still deadlocked. You're taking a live look at Capitol Hill, where the Senate is expected to vote on the GOP bill this afternoon. This is a government funding proposal from the GOP after Democrats blocked it again yesterday. This is still because of a dispute about health care and spending priorities. Both sides are standing firm in their position, and this is as the shutdown is now stretching into its 15th day. Speaker Mike Johnson has warned this government shutdown could be the longest in history, but of course we will continue to follow this and see how that plays out. In the meantime, here at home, a little closer to home, we know our colleges and universities are taking a look at this because they get a lot lot of government funding through grants, and we want to see how they are handling this gap in spending. Our Allie Levine is following up on this story all day. And Allie, I want to check in with you and see what universities are telling you. I understand you spoke with Georgia Tech.
Yeah, hey Ariel. So I just want to tell you a little bit about where we are first before I get into universities. So, you know, Atlanta has always been known for its tech startups. So many have popped up right here in this city, but now it's also becoming known for its health sciences research and startups. And that's happening right here on this beautiful balcony, or right inside of this beautiful balcony where I'm standing now at Portal Innovations. It's a hub that's really bringing together so many research labs and startups, really looking into some critical initiatives for health sciences, biotech, and medtech. So this company is bringing together other smaller startups and their research with funding and other assistance that they really need. And while many of their funding comes from investors and other sources, a lot of these companies do rely somewhat on federal funding. And that federal funding right now is, of course, paused because of the shutdown. Not permanently, but as we are so many days into this shutdown, it is just still going. Those delays, those pauses are having a big impact on grants right here for so many of these companies. And many actually started with research on campuses like Georgia Tech's and Emory's. Now, Georgia Tech in particular receives so much federal funding. It is always in about the top 5 for federal funding across the country for its research. And I spoke to them earlier this week. They actually posted something on their website on Monday talking about how they are prepared if this goes longer, if this shutdown goes any longer, for some mitigation tactics to help bridge the gap for research. But, you know, Ariel, as I spoke with some of the founders here today, the big thing is they're concerned about stifling of innovation, because so much innovation happens right here, right at Science Square where we are. We're just across the street from Georgia Tech's campus. These are all startups that really started with this campus research, and now so much important work is happening right where we're standing.
Yeah, Allie, you know, it really makes you think, because like you said, innovation happens on our college campuses, right? College campuses take a lot of this funding. They work to eradicate diseases. They look to find medical cures and treatments. And so we're seeing a little bit, you're in, you know, the square there. So I'm curious, I know you spoke with a executive director of Portal Atlanta. Can you tell me a little bit about who she is and what she told you? And I do think we have that soundbite for when you're ready for it. But just curious, you know, as you were having your conversation with her, what some of her big concerns were.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ariel. We spoke with Ashley Cornelison. She is the executive director here at Portal. And again, they help bring together these startups with funding and with resources that otherwise they might not get. This is just an incredibly valuable resource for these young founders here. And I do want to play that soundbite because she goes into what Portal does and then how these delays in federal funding could potentially stifle innovation as this shutdown drags on.
Atlanta has such a great life sciences ecosystem and a really great tech ecosystem as well for startup companies. And there really hasn't been that much of a home though for the life science innovation and startup companies here. So having Science Square come online right next to Georgia Tech has been really exciting to see it evolve and grow. And within Portal, we're helping to really build and scale that community wherein they're just might not have been a kind of neutral territory for these companies to convene and grow. Science Square coming online allows for that opportunity.
So talk to me about the current state of federal funding for some of the companies that you work with, particularly in this moment where we are many, many days into a government shutdown.
Yes, so a lot of innovation is reliant on federal funding support, and especially grants like the NIH, and companies are, access to that is going to be perhaps limited, and really challenging for innovation to be able to scale and could have some long-term effects. Most of the companies that are here at Portal submitted grant applications for things like SBIRs, the Small Business Innovation Research grants, as well as STTR grants, and not having access to those could really impede their growth and development. So my companies that are here are really worrisome about it. I know in the state of Georgia we had about $2.5 billion of federal NIH research grants here, and that could really be impacted, and we could start to see the flow of innovation from everywhere, from within academia and to outside of academia.
Ariel, I spoke with another founder here at Portal of the company TopoDX, and that company, they're creating a faster lab test to be able to spot infections in hours instead of days, to help patients get the correct antibiotics sooner, and also reduce overprescription of antibiotics, which can be so critical and detrimental to somebody's health. But I spoke with him about what this impact means, and he really talks about how this could be an impact on innovation in the broader sense of the word, but also he spoke about the importance of that funding, because so many startups, once they get to a level where their research is solid, it's good, it's strong, then they can come in and get VC funding, they can get angel investors, whatever it is. They can work with companies like Portal. But it's in those really, really early critical stages of research where scientists and many students right here in Georgia need federal funding to see if their idea, if their hypothesis is worth pursuing and taking to that next level.
Allie, it's fascinating. I love learning about Portal, and I'm so glad you brought this story to us, because we're getting to learn a little bit more about what these organizations do that we might not have otherwise known. And Allie, I could speak with you about this forever, because the impacts of this, I think, are interesting to explore, both from a what-if standpoint of what if they don't get this funding, what innovations could we miss out on, and then also how is this going to spark maybe other creativity and innovation as they try to make up for these gaps in funding. So definitely going to be interesting to see how they mitigate it. Allie, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. We do have to move on, but I appreciate your hard work and reporting today. So thank you so much. Okay, guys, so we are going to move along in just a little bit. I do want to let you know some breaking news we do have into our newsroom. When we were speaking about just a little bit ago that 6-month-old baby that was found in the woods earlier, the father was suspected in the baby's disappearance, and he was arrested but not facing charges. And as of right now, we can confirm that father is now facing charges in the baby's disappearance. So we also know that he was denied bond. This is unfolded in Clayton County, and that missing baby now found dead is one in a set of twins. So investigators say there were a lot of inconsistencies in the father's story. The baby's twin is safe with the mother, and she is not considered a suspect. But as of right now, we do know that that father is now facing charges. His name is Antonio Pierce, and he's facing charges related to the baby's death and disappearance. We'll continue to keep you updated on what those charges are. I would imagine there are probably a lot of them as investigators continue this this process and look through the investigation. But for now, we can confirm that Antonio Pierce is now facing charges in the disappearance and death of his 6-month-old baby. So we'll continue to keep you updated right here on Fox Local. In the meantime, coming up, I do want to let you know we are going to be checking in with an expert on how to avoid the fall bloat, so to speak. If you've been enjoying some Halloween candy or things of the nature and you want to see how you can balance this, your kids' Halloween trick-or-treater candy, and maybe you want some too, and you want to make sure that you avoid the bloat and stay healthy, we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up next. Well, welcome in. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for streaming along with us here on our Wednesday afternoon. Listen, you guys, it is fall and it's cozy season. Days are getting shorter, which means we all want to curl up. Maybe we're eating a little bit more than we should. There's Halloween candy. Pretty soon we're going to be having Christmas cookies and all other manner of sweets. So if you're dealing with a seasonal bloat, we want to talk to an expert, Dr. Julie Gatza, about how to avoid this, how to balance it. Dr. Julie, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I think the biggest question I kind of want to start off with here is I feel like Q4 kind of turns into a minefield for a lot of us because there's just so many delicious things. It can be hard to avoid, but maybe avoidance isn't the answer. Maybe it's about balance. How do we navigate this?
I think that's very well put. I've found that this time of year, people do get a little nutty. There are homespun tastes that everyone wants to have, and it does put a tremendous amount of stress on the digestive system. So you're eating a lot more fat, a lot more sugar, more carbohydrates, maybe bigger meals, and inevitably, the digestive system is the very basic system that you have to have working properly for the body to be healthy, to regain your health, and to maintain it. So one of the things that I've seen is we aren't making enough digestive enzymes in general. Our food has changed, the way we process food, what we're eating is compared to 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so I've been doctoring for 34 years, and my biggest sort of ace up the sleeve is to use high quality digestive enzymes. We aren't making enough of them, and when we take them, we can break down more fat, we can break down the protein, the carbohydrates, we can actually chop up that meal and utilize those nutrients better than we have, and this is how you get your body to work properly. So you can avoid the gas, the bloating, indigestion, heartburn, constipation, diarrhea, acid reflux, which are all signs that something's not working properly and ill health is coming.
Dr. Julie, you know, it's so interesting because I actually take some enzymes from time to time myself because I find it does help with my digestion. They're kind of like a locking key and help your body break down some of those things that it's not used to, or like you said, our body just doesn't make enough enzymes. So how can we find some good enzymes to take? What can we look out for? I understand, you know, a lot of health food stores sell these, but how do we find which ones are right for us?
Well, I generally find that there's a lot of them out there, and there's a lot of good enzymes. The one that I've been using for about, I don't know, 10 years is something called Absorbaid. You can go to the website, which is naturesources.com, and you can look up the Absorbaid. It's a vegan formula. Kids can take it, elderly can take it. A lot of my patients, dogs will take it to get more nutrition from their food. If you're a healthy eater, you should take it because it will give you more bang for your buck every time that you're eating to break down those foods. If you're an unhealthy eater or you're going to go and have some holidays, then you want to put those in so that you're not laying on the couch button unbuttoned and not wanting to participate with the rest of the group because digestively you're now out of the game.
It's so true. And you know, I really feel for people who have a lactose intolerance, right, or a gluten sensitivity. You know, it just, I know gluten sometimes makes me feel icky. And so it's one of those things where when you're in the Thanksgiving table, how do you not enjoy all of these lovely treasures, you know? So as we kind of look ahead here, another trick that I've heard of, and I want to get your feedback because we're all about, hey, how do we navigate this and beat the bloat? Starting your meals off with some fiber, maybe the order that you eat your foods may help, like starting with some fiber before moving to, say, some protein, and then eating maybe your carbs last so you don't spike your blood sugar. Does that help?
That's totally correct. But keep in mind, a lot of people think fiber is, you know, bread and pastas and things like this. Fiber in my world is vegetables.
Yes.
So starting with the salads, starting with the steamed vegetables, you can do that. You can start with the protein as well. Protein is the most difficult to break down and the food that the body needs the most at a cellular level. So either one of those is fine to start. And you're right. Once you've eaten that, waiting for the carbohydrates at the end is better. You'll be fuller, you won't eat as much, and quite frankly, you're not getting a whole bunch of nutrition from carbohydrates at this point.
Dr. Julie, this has been really insightful. You know, we have about 30 seconds left here or so, about a minute. So before I let you go, any other big hacks you have or just advice as people navigate this time of year, ways we can mitigate our digestive stress and beat the bloat?
Yes, almost everyone's dehydrated. And I'm not talking just go grab a sports drink or an energy drink or a coffee or pop. What you want to do is you want to wake up in the morning, have 2 big glasses of water. You've been not drinking all night long. That's what you want to start off. It will get the system rolling and get it going. You will find in the day that if you actually drink water when you think you're hungry, you really were just thirsty. But by the time it gets down to dehydration, thirst is one of the last things that actually shows up. So drinking the water will keep you from being so hungry. It will keep your weight down. It'll have your energy. You won't be laying around in the bed feeling that you're, don't have energy for the day. So doing that, getting digestive enzymes in with a meal, and you can even take them without a meal, and it helps to break down inflammation in the body, toxins, poisons, bacteria. So you can take them at night, and your hands feel better in the morning if you've been gardening, or your back hurts, and you can take those at night. So that Absorbaid is, it's a it does a bang up job for exactly what I want it to.
That's amazing. I didn't realize you could take enzymes outside of a meal. So that's insightful, because if that's going to help us overnight, hey, I might have to add that to my nightly routine.
Good, you should. It's really helpful. And you know, people learn all this stuff, but unless you do something about it, you're just going to be knowledgeable without the application.
Yeah.
That website I mentioned has the ability to get some free enzymes, so they want you to actually experience it too. So you should check it out, thenaturesources.com.
Dr. Julie, thanks so much for joining us, sharing your expertise, and hopefully people can take these tips up to heart and avoid some digestive upset throughout Q4. So we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Okay, guys, I want to bring you back here into the studio as we wrap up here and head into our 3 o'clock hour. I do have a breaking news update I want to continue to let you guys know about. The charges that Antonio Pierce is facing, the father now charged in the death and disappearance of his 6-month-old baby son. You're looking at the mugshot of Antonio Pierce there. Charges are false report of a crime, concealing a death, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, cruelty to a child, and malice murder. So he's facing 6 charges in total. We'll continue to keep you updated as we learn any new details. But I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for streaming along with us. The News at 3 continues in just a bit.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for streaming with us here. This is the 3 p.m. hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines, live with you in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. So much to get to today, including what's happening in Washington, D.C. You know, the government shutdown now entering the 15th day. Representative Mike Johnson, the House Majority Leader, said this could be the longest government shutdown in history. We sure hope that's not the case, because a lot of federal workers are not getting paid right now. Democrats, Republicans still at an impasse on terms of how to reopen the government. So we're live in Washington this afternoon. We're going to talk about what is happening there and negotiations, and whether or not there will be a Senate vote soon on whether the government will reopen. So stay with us for breaking news out of D.C. There's also breaking news on that missing 6-month-old baby who we now know has been found dead near an apartment complex. This is a story that we've been following all week long since Monday when it broke. The father is in jail, and now we understand he's facing a slew of brand new charges related to the death of that child, including malice murder. Let's get out to Eric Perry, who's live near the scene. Eric, this father is in a whole lot of trouble this afternoon.
Yeah, Tom, hello to you. We've been covering this story longer than that. Sunday, when I was on the desk, is when this story broke. Our Kim Luffler was here. You can still see crime scene tape, and this is where we believe the body of that 6-month-old Nakai Pratt was found here. Within the past hour, we have learned of new charges. I was there this morning as Antonio Pierce went before a judge for a first appearance, but he wasn't facing these charges. These are the new charges filed against him. False report of a crime, concealing a death, tampering with evidence, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, cruelty to children, and then that big one, malice murder here in connection to his own child, 6 months old here in Clayton County, after he was reported missing Sunday morning here in Clayton County. They say around 7 o'clock is when that happened, and then it led to days and days until that gruesome discovery Tuesday evening around 7 when the body was found. Let's take you to some video and to what happened in court. You'll hear from the judge as he was read some of the charges. Take a listen.
Contradictory statements in an investigation of a missing child, and when witness accounts verified your contradictory statements, you admitted to concealing and falsifying.
Kind of bigger than what it is, because they had taped off and stuff like that, so we couldn't even come in and out of the apartments or even in the neighborhood at that point. But I didn't know that they found the body. And like now that you say it, it's real. Like it hits different now. And I feel for the family. So you got to do a better job protecting your kids, because as a father, that's what we're here for. Providers and protectors. So like, I would hate to feel like I failed my kids.
Yeah, so that second person that you heard lives in the neighborhood behind this kind of wooded line where we kind of saw where the body was found there. You know, he knew something was going on, but unfortunately I was the one that told him that the body was found, the kid was found unalive there. But again, those upgraded charges earlier, the father was related or arrested in unrelated charges. And so that's what we saw there with drug possession, intent to sell there. There were some traffic violations. And then earlier it was providing false statements, as investigators say his story did not add up. Here's what he initially told investigators, that there was some sort of armed robbery and those robbers took that 6-month-old. Investigators say, talking to witnesses and then re-talking with him, it just did not add up there. We were curious if they would be upgraded since the court this morning, and again we got that word within the last hours with malice murder, cruelty, aggravated assault, and a slew of charges. Here's what's interesting, Tom. A couple of years ago he also faced cruelty charges to children as well there. Not sure what relation with that. And then just back to this 6-month-old helpless little infant there. He is a twin. We're told the twin is okay and is with the mom. And at last check, investigators do not believe the mother played a role in such a heartbreaking incident. But really, a lot of neighbors, they have been holding their breaths, hoping that 6-month-old would be found alive. Unfortunately, he was not. And then there is the anger. There's the concern that that 6-month-old was found just over my shoulder here, so close to home here in Clayton County.
It's just a devastating development development, the discovery of this 6-month-old child, the charges that this father faces. You talked about neighbors. We spoke to one of them yesterday who was shocked that this even happened. She said that she knew that family, had counted on them for things that neighbors count on each other for, and now this. Eric, did police tell you what condition that deceased infant was found in? I mean, do we know how the child died?
Yeah, Tom, I wish I could tell you. Those are questions we have ourselves, and I say it like that because we've been reaching out to Clayton County Police several times today. We've reached out yesterday. They have not gone on camera to give any statements. They have not gone on camera about updated charges. So there are just so many questions here about the state of which that child was found in. Has he been here since they brought out the cadaver dogs for days? Did someone dump the body? Unfortunately, there's just so many questions. But we have sent emails, we have sent calls, smoke signals to Clayton County Police. Hopefully they'll respond with some sort of answers, because this is just a story that is tugged with the heart. And you made a good point about the neighbors. I talked with another neighbor you'll hear on the news at 4 o'clock. He says he met the twins. He knew the father. He says he never expected any of this. In fact, he says that father gave him a bag on Sunday. He didn't think anything of it. And then after all of this came out, he told me one-on-one, it's an exclusive, you'll hear at 4. He looked in that bag. He found guns and drugs, and he turned that in to Clayton County. So he talked one-on-one with me, and we'll have that part of the story as people really are trying to come to terms and grips with such a horrendous situation.
So many nefarious circumstances, but one wonders and has difficulty wrapping their minds around how a 6-month-old baby could be the result of anything that happened out there. Now Antonio Pierce, the father, Eric, as you reported, facing a slew of new charges, including malice murder. Eric, live in Clayton County. Eric, thanks. There was a big meeting in DeKalb County among the school board after the revelation that the former superintendent or superintendent that is on paid administrative leave is facing a federal indictment out of Illinois. Let's get out to Kevin Stewart with the developments. Kevin, we know an interim superintendent has been named, but do we have any information out of Illinois as to the federal indictment that the superintendent, Devon Horton, is facing?
Well, let's start with what's going on right now, Tom. I can tell you that the school board has been in executive session since 9 o'clock. Now, we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but typically when you're talking about executive session, you're talking about good name and character and personnel issues. So the question is raised here, obviously, is does Dr. Devon Horton, his status right now, is it up in the air? As you noted, he is on paid administrative leave. And I can also tell you that Horton was supposed to be in court today. He and his co-defendants were supposed to be arraigned in federal court in Chicago this afternoon, but that was postponed. And according to court records, it will be reset after consultation with parties, all parties involved. Now, back home here in Georgia, there are education advocates who are pretty upset because there were rumors about Dr. Horton before the school board hired him. Take a listen.
Talent search agency was hired, and 5 people were chosen, but he wasn't on that list of 5. So I'm confused about that. To pay money to support Horton until he's proven innocent or guilty, it's a lot of waste, and it's a lot of things that our children need immediately. I'm not sure if it's able to get back on track with the leadership that we have in place now, but all things are possible if you have a logical plan.
All right, I want you to take a look at this. A professional organization linked to the National Education Association's Illinois chapter, the teachers union, shared a statement with me that was just released in the Evanston School Board meeting yesterday. That's where Dr. Horton used to work. In part, it says the indictment of Dr. Horton may have come as a shock to some, but for many of us, the effects of the ongoing mismanagement have been visible. When funds meant to support teaching and learning are misused, it is our children who bear the heaviest burden. And obviously, that sentiment stretches across state lines. And as I noted, right now, the school board has been, it took a break at about 1 o'clock or so to get some lunch and went right back at it. What they're doing, we do not know, but just using general knowledge here, good name and character, personnel decisions. They've been working at this for an hour. Could Dr. Horton's status here be up in the air? Tom?
I wonder, did I hear that administrator correctly, that they used a search firm to find a superintendent and he wasn't among the 5 finalists chosen among that search firm?
Right. When he was hired back in 2023, that was one of the controversies that were going on. And that came out, I believe there was a member of the school board at the time who released some information that typically would not be known to the public, I guess releasing to a source, and that there was a firm that was hired, typical for many school systems, particularly your bigger ones. They hire them, put together a list, and they pick from that list, typically. But apparently, he was not on that list. And so that started raising concerns, and that's why, you know, we talked to Vidalia Turner with the Georgia Federation of Teachers, the teachers union here, and she brought that up and said, hey, there were a lot of red flags. A lot of people were concerned about this, and they went ahead and hired anyway, and here we are.
So they didn't go with the recommendations of the search firm, which cost a lot of money to utilize. And so one wonders how Devon Horton's name even got in the hat for superintendent, only to face the blowback of now him facing a federal indictment up in Illinois. What a nightmare. And that administrator is exactly right, that ultimately it's the children of DeKalb County that are paying for this mess and this interruption of leadership in the school system. So we'll continue to follow developments out there and continue to ask questions. Kevin, thanks. I want to take you back live to Washington, where there's, as always, a lot happening. We're waiting for a news conference between the FBI Director Kash Patel and President Trump, who are discussing the administration's plan for law enforcement in cities around the United States, cities like Washington, D.C., and cities like Chicago, Illinois, and Portland, Oregon. So the FBI director, the president, are scheduled to hold a news conference to advance that story. We're monitoring the situation at the White House. They should appear on camera shortly, and when they do, we'll take you back to listen to what they have to say. As you know, the administration is facing a federal lawsuit to prevent it from dispatching National Guard troops to Chicago and Portland. They've done it in Washington, D.C., and quite successfully, as crime and incidences there in that city are dramatically down. I want to take you live to Jerusalem, where celebrations are still underway after a tenuous peace agreement. I understand that live shot just went down out of the Middle East. And I say tenuous because in Gaza, there's still some hostility among Hamas and folks inside that beleaguered area. Israel wants the return of the remaining deceased hostages still held by Hamas, and say that it's going to cut in half the number of aid trucks flowing into Gaza until all of those hostages and their remains have been returned. Officials in Gaza say that the widespread destruction in the territory is making that handover difficult. It has been left in rubble after the fighting that has taken place there over these past couple of years. 4 more coffins were returned today, bringing the total this week to 8, but 20 families are still waiting for the remains of their loved ones and closure. If those remaining hostages are not returned within 72 hours, an international task force is going to step in and start working to locate them. President Trump has declared the war in Gaza over, but there are still tensions in that region as they work to get those remaining hostages returned to their families. As we continue here, I want to take a live look outside at the beautiful day we've had. Afternoons are warm, mornings are cool, but we're not complaining. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacy here, looking at how the rest of this work week is going to unfold as we continue here in the 3 p.m. streaming hour of Fox Local. Good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks so much for streaming with us here in the 3 p.m. hour of Fox Local. I'm Tom Haynes, joined by meteorologist Jonathan Stacey, who's been watching really spectacular weather, Jonathan, all week long. The difference is that we're getting kind of warmish afternoons, but the mornings are kind of chilly when you step outside. So you bring a jacket and then you lose it like halfway through the day.
It is definitely a day for layers, and you delete the layers as the day goes on because, yes, the mornings have maintained that cool, crisp feel, and that's all because the dew point has been very low. We've looked at dew points in the upper 40s and lower 50s, and that is in the delightful range. Those numbers are making a comeback as we get deeper into the week. But speaking of the here and now, it's the temperature that we are watching closely. It looks like we could come very close to breaking a record. We're looking back at some numbers here. I just want to show you yesterday for perspective. The average high temperature for this time of the year is 75 degrees. Yesterday we hit 85. So far today we've hit 84. You can see the record for yesterday stands at 87 degrees, set back in 1940. And I'm pulling some stats right now as we speak to see if I can get today's record. So we're still pulling yesterday's information there, but I believe, if my judgment tells me correctly based on what I have been prying through over the past couple of hours, that the current record stands at 86 degrees. It is entirely possible, I feel like it may be election night right here, for us to close that 2-degree threshold and actually tie a record. So for those of you who are saying it's hot outside, you're exactly right. And I've been using the term toasty because it's not sweltering, it's not sultry, because the dew points are not high. But the temperature is running wild. It's some 10 degrees above average for this time of the year, and that trend rides on for the next couple of days, at least through the work week. So for tonight, problem-free. You must do something outside tonight. Have dinner, fire up the grill, go for a walk.
Because look at it, we're going to lose 20 degrees before it hits
we
evening.
shave off. As soon as the sun slips below the horizon, those numbers start falling fairly quickly. And by the time you wake up on what will be a Thursday morning, temperatures will be back in the 50s, right where we started this morning, just before sunrise. You know the changes are afoot. Will you see them tomorrow? Likely not. Thursday, another high and dry day. High pressure moves in. It takes center stage over the south as we get into the final day of the work week. This is Friday. You'll notice a few clouds breaking out Friday, especially across far north Georgia. Don't worry about them. They are not rain clouds, but the clouds that come in by the time we get to Saturday, those clouds are antecedent, and they will also be the foretellers of the showers that are to come on Sunday. So you're dry for the first part of the weekend. Sunday starts out with some showers floating across the northwestern section of the state. Then as we get into the 3-4 o'clock time period, based on the latest run of the models, it looks like we could get some heavy downpours here, mainly scattered showers, and I can't rule out a rumble or thunder or two as we round out and bring the weekend to an end. Overall, it's not going to be an impressive rainmaker by any stretch to the north here. This is a new model that just came out, Tom. It looks like we'll have the highest rainfall amounts up across northwest Georgia, maybe even into north central. Towns in Union County possibly getting somewhere between a ½ inch to an inch. Here in the metro area, if we get a quarter of an inch, I would consider that a pretty nice amount, considering that the models are being very conservative on what the expectations are. So when we give you the grand total here, it looks like we have a string of 80-degree days that are going to stick around for at least 3 more days. By the time we get to Sunday, the temperature takes a step back on the backs of showers, cooler air behind the front. That's our lot for Monday. And then there will be a chill in the air when you rise Monday morning. Make sure you go ahead and grab that jacket or coat.
40s.
Yeah, 40s are coming
that's something
to the
else.
metro. We're not talking about the mountains. Yeah, it looks like that cold front may have a bit of a punch behind it.
First time we've hit 40 in the metro area in the morning?
Well, it would be the first time we've gone into the 40s.
Into the 40s?
I don't think we'll go right to 40.
No, I'm saying in the 40s.
In the range, yeah, for sure. And we just tipped off the 50-degree scale.
Okay.
And we talk about the range, as you were saying. We just got into that last week. So that will be the staggering jump to say, okay, we just kind of got comfortable in the 50s in the morning.
So we go from fall to late fall.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to keep getting cooler and cooler.
And then look at that. By Wednesday, we're trying to pull back in some 80s.
Okay.
But here's the deal. This week, next week, not the same. Next week, we're going to get back to that on and off type of suspicion with the weather. Some clouds, some rain, kind of in and out each and every day, has a bit of a different looking vibe to it.
I'm wondering about Sunday. Yesterday it was 40%. Now it's 60%. And when these clouds are going to start moving into the area, if I'm making plans on Saturday, are we going to start seeing the clouds kind of gradually increase as Saturday goes on?
Two things, some inside baseball here, is you're seeing that rain chance go up because our confidence is going up that there will be some precipitation. Now, in terms of coverage and intensity, the coverage is not looking as great as it looked 24 hours ago or even 12 hours ago. It looks to be more of a scattered garden variety rain event as the front pulls through. I think there will be enough moisture for us to crank out a rumble of thunder or two. At this point, now, in contrast to what I said this morning on Good Day, it looks like maybe if you're a churchgoer or you have something during the early morning hours, I think you'll be okay. The skies will have a bit of a menacing look, or look of suspicion, as I like to say. But then it's that midday period, so between about maybe 10 and 4 o'clock. Now, we're still safely 4 days away from the event, but it looks like it's going to be the midday period for Sunday in which we expect the showers, and I think we recover quickly into Monday.
All right, Jonathan, always good information. Thanks. Want to take you back live to Capitol Hill, where they are still trying to work out the government shutdown. We promised more information, and we're about to give it to you because there is breaking news happening right now. A federal judge in San Francisco has blocked the Trump administration from continuing government furloughs, and that judge granted a temporary restraining order sought by labor unions that argued that these layoffs were unlawful during the ongoing government shutdown. It's something that the president promised to do as long as Democrats were going to keep the government closed. We're 2 weeks in, exactly 14 days plus 1. We hit the 2-week mark yesterday, and no signs that either side is going to break this logjam as some workers prepare to miss their paychecks now. The White House says more layoffs could be on the way, but I just brought you that breaking news out of San Francisco that the judge is saying not so fast. That will be challenged in court for sure by the Trump administration as Republicans and Democrats continue to try to trade blame. Republicans say, hey, we gave you something that is no different from a law that was passed not too long ago to fund the federal government. Not one letter different. To which Democrats will argue, well, this is our opportunity to extend some health care entitlements, namely Obamacare, Medicare, Medicaid, and we're going to use it. And so they're digging in to try to get those things written into law before they agree to any sort of continuance of federal government funding. So some federal employees like Capitol Hill police officers, air traffic controllers, TSA workers, are going to start missing paychecks. They're going to start missing paychecks as of Friday, and then things are going to start to get really, really uncomfortable as the Trump administration announced just within the past couple of days this week that they're going to use emergency funding to continue paying military personnel. But we'll see if Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Majority Leader John Thune can get together and work out a funding structure to reopen the federal government, something that the House Speaker has said could turn out to be the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Let's hope not. As we continue here, how would you like to be leaving the airport only to discover that your parking bill is $1,000? Well, that apparently happened to one woman, and our Tyler Fingert will join us here on set to tell us more about it as the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local continues. Good afternoon. So glad you're with us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. Tom Haynes, joined here in the newsroom by Tyler Fingert. Look, we know
graphics, by the way.
The animations
we have new
and
graphics.
The music. We're getting fancy here on Fox Local, okay? Stepping it up a little bit. Look, parking at the airport has gotten expensive. It recently got even more expensive. I think a lot of lots are $30 a day now as they build these new superstructures to handle all the parking out there. But one woman got a bill for $1,000. Came as a surprise to her, but now she's fighting Hartsfield-Jackson over that bill. Tyler's been following this story, presuming you spoke to this woman, and she must be really upset.
Yeah, so her car is actually still sitting in the parking garage at Hartsfield-Jackson. This all happened back in June. That's when she arrived there. I believe it was June 18th. She was there for about 14 days. She came back on July 1st. So essentially what we know happened, according to what she was telling us, was she arrived at the airport. She was going to park in the daily lot like she always does. Apparently it was full. And then one of these attendants, she says, guided her, was waving her off saying it wasn't available. She talked to one of them. They said, well, the overflow lot is right over here. She goes in there and it turns out that is the hourly lot, and that's obviously where the problems begin, because when they did the new pay structure back in May, the hourly lot, if you're there more than one day, goes up to $75 per day, which is 2.5 times more than what you would pay if you were in the daily lot, which is $30 a day. So that obviously adds up quickly and is a nightmare money-wise. She was leaving Atlanta to head to her sick father on a one-way ticket, so she didn't even know when she was going to be coming back, and that's really what the crux of her complaint was. She would never park in an hourly parking lot knowing that she was going to be coming back. And so, again, one of the attendants told her that it was an overflow lot, so she parked in there, and it came with a price tag of more than $1,000 when she ended up going to when she ended up trying to leave on July 1st. And her name is Lisa Clow. She said that she expected to pay around about $400, which would have been about the daily rate of $30, and wasn't ready for the higher charge, so she left her car at the airport, and it's been there ever since, as I mentioned. And this is obviously frustrating for her. And so when she talked to the supervisor, she was trying to leave. The attendant, they told her that the attendant is a contractor and doesn't work for the airport, and she believes these people need to be better trained, and there needs to be more signage warning people, because obviously, as the airport told me previously, we don't have overflow lots. We don't have lots where people can just, if one lot's full, you go over here. No, everything is a separate lot. They all have their own fee structure. And so she had told me that the airport had mentioned a possible hardship exemption, but that never got approved. But take a listen to what she told us.
It doesn't make sense why I would park in an hourly parking when I had a one-way ticket to go see my dad. That's one of the biggest points that I want to make. It just, why would I do that? Why would I purposely do that to myself, knowing that's an hourly parking rate? I would not do that to myself. I would have parked in the daily parking or tried to find another parking off of the airport. It doesn't make sense. If I knew that he was pointing me to the hourly rate and I would get the hourly rate, I wouldn't have parked there. And at the fact that they have strong-armed me so much, and I have documentation of constant emails, constant phone calls with 3 or 4 different people. They need to get it together.
Obviously understand her frustration. I mean, again, this was back in June. She parked June 16th, June 18th time frame, somewhere in that area. She was there for about 14 days, July 1st. She still doesn't have her car. It's still apparently sitting in the terminal unless they towed it away. She's not sure even if they towed it away. So the airport released a statement, which we want to be able to read to you right now. Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, ATL, was recently made aware of this incident by our parking management company, and we are reviewing the circumstances surrounding the customer's experience. We sympathize as we understand how stressful travel can be, especially when compounded by unexpected challenges. We are committed to working closely with the customer and our parking partners to find an amicable resolution. We value our customers and remain committed to ensuring every experience at ATL is positive, transparent, and efficient.
So it sounds like she's going to get her car back eventually if they can work out a deal.
Well, and as she told, apparently one of the deals she was telling me was they wanted her to pay $1,400 at one point. I guess the initial amount was somewhere around $1,000, maybe $1,100, and then she ended up leaving it there, had the conversations with them, and then she was saying that there was going to be, the resolution was $1,400, and she was about to pay it, and then she realized, well, this is what they told me. This is what this attendant, and that's what she contended. She sent me a number of emails that are in my inbox right now that she had sent to the airport and talked to multiple people, 3 or 4 different supervisors and folks to try to get this resolved, and nothing was happening. And so her car is still technically racking up charges, and she's willing to pay. She was willing to pay her $30 a day, which would be about $400.
Right.
But they're just obviously. There's 2 sides here, obviously, because you don't want to let someone say something happened.
Hard to have any kind of proof, too, as to what you're saying. Where's the guy she spoke to? Was this interaction caught on camera? And it's very difficult to have any kind of recourse as a parking customer. Like, who do you go to? Not the person standing at the gate. They're not going to let you out.
And it's not like a police officer would have a body camera. They're airport employees. They're contractors who are just interacting with folks. Like, we were out there today getting some video for this story that we're airing, and the daily lot was once again closed because it was full over on the south side, and there was a person there guiding people either to hourly or to find other lots. So presumably it would be that type of person who was the one telling someone to go elsewhere.
It's a frustrating growing pain we're in now at the airport because they're building these new lots.
And they don't have parking. I mean,
they don't have enough parking.
They closed the South Economy lot, which they're almost done with that parking garage. I think we're about less than a year away from when that one opens, which hopefully will add more parking.
But it's becoming more expensive. People are rushing to their flights. There's like delays all over the place. It's a little bit of a nightmare right now. So your sympathies do lie with that woman, and I know you'll get back to us with any kind of resolution that she reaches with the airport. Tyler, thanks. Quick look at Washington, D.C. real quick, where we're waiting at the White House for President Trump and the FBI director to emerge at any moment to talk about their crime-fighting efforts as it relates to the National Guard. As soon as that happens, we will continue to watch that and bring it to you. Meantime, the U.S. Navy is showcasing a new experience, so to speak, to attract young recruits. They want specifically kids that are into STEM careers in the U.S. Navy, and they're willing to invest to the tune of $180,000 in scholarships to recruit out of high school and into the Navy. Our Eli Jordan spent the morning out there at Union Grove High School to check out this new innovative experience brought to you by the U.S. Navy.
That's right. I'm out here at Union Grove High School in McDonough, where the Navy has a strike force out here to, recruit some interested students who are thinking about joining the military. Now, the Navy, I would say, is the most technologically advanced branch in the U.S. military. And so, this is like geared towards like STEM students, but also too, Alex over here seeing if he can be a Navy SEAL. Alex, how'd you do?
Outstanding, sir.
So how many push-ups you get pulled off?
I'd say I could do about 70, sir.
Cool. You can call me Eli. It's
Good
okay.
to go, Eli.
So tell me, have you gone through the setup here? You're a student here at Union Grove, correct?
Yes, sir.
And are you in the ROTC program?
I am, sir. I'm the commanding officer of the ROTC here.
I can tell because you have a really good disciplined manners there, sir. And so tell me, what do you think about the Navy coming down here with their strike force and showing off, using this? This is kind of a new thing.
Yes, sir. So I think the Navy's opportunity to come down here and talk to some of our high schoolers is just a great opportunity, give them a real immersive experience to get real hands-on kind of activity that most high schoolers would really never get an opportunity to do.
So did you do this right here?
Yes, sir, I did.
Tell me about what was going on in here.
So you actually take place in the USS Gerald R. Ford, which is one of the
aircraft
biggest
carrier.
Yes, sir, an aircraft carrier. It's one of the most technologically advanced in our country's Navy.
And so, is this like virtual reality?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're just coming through here. We're live on TV right now. And so, tell me, what was it like? What were you seeing?
Yes, so I was actually the boatswain's mate, which is a really cool opportunity where I could direct air traffic control and kind of actually launch the ships themselves, launch the planes themselves. And some of my companions were actually able to fly the ships and man our air traffic control towers.
So did it give you a better idea of what it would be like on an aircraft carrier?
Oh yes, 100%, sir. So it gives you that kind of like in-person experience to what it would actually be like, not just as much on paper, but more of a virtual reality approach.
So you did this on the aircraft, had the aircraft carrier, and over here we had the Navy SEAL training
yes, sir.
Demo, but over here we have the submarine demo, right?
Yes, sir.
So how was that like? What did you think about it?
I thought the submarine experience was a really great leadership opportunity that we could work together as a team to actually be able to sail our ship.
And do you want to be in the sub?
I would really enjoy being in the sub, sir.
Is that what you hope to do? When you,
yes, sir. I would really hope to be a nuclear engineer in the Navy, sir.
So you plan on going to the Navy, Alex? All right.
Yes, sir.
So I'll tell you what, Alex, I want to grab that mic from you.
Yes, sir.
And so now we have Tunique and we have Cotton. So tell me, Tunique, tell me, what do you think about this setup the Navy has out here, on display at Union Grove High School?
I believe the setup here has really helped the students understand how the Navy works and different ways that we could be involved in the Navy, such as different jobs. They have navigator, nuclear engineer, pilot, weapons control. They have all these different ideas that's hands-on and that students can know.
Kind of like what they're stepping into when if they decide they want to be in the submarine?
Exactly.
So I'll tell you what, saying this over to Cotton, you want to be in the Space Force.
Yes, sir.
All right, Eli Jordan out at Union Grove High School with an amazing and innovative experience brought to you by the U.S. Navy to try to recruit students out of high school, STEM-oriented students, to bring their technological minds to the United States military, and they're offering huge scholarships to the tune of $180,000. We talked about that news conference with the FBI Director Kash Patel in the Oval Office. That is starting. Let's listen in.
In the world, they were allowed, in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, they were allowed in by a very foolish, actually stupid, open border policy. Just anybody could have come in. They emptied out their jails, their prisons, their mental institutions. They emptied them into our country. And the people behind me have done an incredible job, because if we didn't have that administration, it would have been so much easier. They allowed millions of people in this country that shouldn't have been allowed, including over 11,000 murderers, half of whom murdered more than one person. And many of them are gone now, or they're put in prison, because we don't want to have them come back. So we literally put them in our prison, which we don't want to do. But we bring them back to their countries. Working with state and local partners, the FBI arrested over 8,000 violent criminals during the course of this period. In major cities like in New Orleans, Nashville, we saw a 250% increase in arrests. And we really went after the bad ones. These include 725 individuals wanted for violent crimes against children and murderers. These arrests are in addition to the work of our historic federal task forces. That Make D.C. Safe Task Force has been unbelievable. I mean, the job they've done, it's incredible. And it's been so nice, because so many people, they're going out to dinner and they're having dinners. They didn't go out for 4 years. And now they're going out 3 times a week. The restaurants are opening, restaurants are full. And usually that means a lot of good things, but restaurants that were closed are now opening up, and everybody's happy. It's nobody's ever seen anything like it, actually, and everybody feels safe. You can have a child walk right through the middle of Washington, D.C., and nothing's going to happen. We were losing more than one person a week in Washington. They're being killed on an average of over one a week. The Make D.C. Safe Task Force has been incredible. And to make Memphis
you're listening live to President Trump speaking in the Oval Office about their crime-fighting efforts involving the National Guard. The president saying that it's worked in D.C., and there are numbers to back that up. And having just been in D.C. over the weekend myself, I can tell you that the National Guard presence is there. They walk in groups of 4 around the city, and to a lot of people, including tourists, it's reassuring to see them out there, knowing that they're keeping the city safe. Now the president wants to duplicate that effort in cities like Chicago and Portland, Oregon, but he's getting some major pushback. You know, D.C. is a federal city, so the president has certain rights to do things there, unlike cities in other parts of the country. So we'll see how those court proceedings work out. He's being challenged by a federal appeals court, and certainly that will be adjudicated by the courts and challenged by the administration. Have you ever met somebody that you know? I mean, you know them. You've met them quite a few times, and you're like, hey, how's it going? But their name has vacated your memory. It's awkward and embarrassing. And then you're like, why am I forgetting that person's name? We're going to speak to an expert about just that as we continue here on Fox Local. Welcome back. A busy afternoon here, as it always is, in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. I'm Tom Haines, streaming with you on our Fox Local streaming channel. And we got a really interesting one for you this afternoon. Came to me this morning in an email, and I said to myself, that happens to me. And I wonder why, but it does happen, and it probably happens to you. There's Dr. Ivan Meisner, who's our expert this afternoon, on a topic that a lot of us deal with. We walk up to somebody who we know perfectly well, and their name like flies right out of our mind, and we're like, why did I forget that person's name? What's wrong with me? Am I losing my mind? Well, Dr. Meisner is here to tell us, no, we're not losing our minds, that it's perfectly normal in this moment of social panic that we experience. Dr. Meisner, you are the author of a brand new book, Networking is a Marathon, Not a Sprint. How to outlast, outconnect, and outperform the competition, which is something we could all use advice for. So what happens to us in that moment when we meet somebody and our mind goes blank?
Yeah, it happens to us all. Look, I run the world's largest networking organization, BNI, and I meet a lot of people, and sometimes you meet them out of context. And that's oftentimes when our mind goes blank. I just, like 6 months ago, was in a grocery store and I met somebody who I knew this woman, but it was in a grocery store. And I just could not remember her name. And so a technique that I like to use, rather than to say, I'm sorry, could you tell me your name again, is never say, nice to meet you. I knew I'd met her before. Say, good to see you. And when you say good to see you, they'll often give you context. Okay. That's what I said with her. Good to see you. And she said, it's good to see you too. I was at that fundraiser at your house a couple of months ago.
Right.
Boom. I remembered who she was.
I remember this happened to my father at a grocery store when I was a kid, and it never left my mind. He walked up to the guy and said, hey, Muscles, how you doing? Just something light and joking, because he completely forgot the guy's name. But why do we, because some of us panic, right? I mean, I sometimes wonder, my mother suffers from dementia, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go, it's happening. But that's really not what happens to your brain. And you don't have dementia, and that we stress ourselves out, which makes forgetting things even worse, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, it absolutely does, especially as you start to get more gray hair like I have. You don't have that much. But, you can worry about that. But I've, believe it or not, always had a little bit of trouble remembering names. It's why I came up with the technique of, nice to see you rather than nice to meet you. People hate when they, are forgotten. I used to say nice to meet you, and they'd say, oh, we met 5 years ago at an event that you spoke at with several hundred people. I'm like, okay. So yeah, you do feel bad, and but you shouldn't, because you can't remember everyone's name. So yeah, go ahead.
Two things. Number one, hopefully there's somebody next to you where you can say, this is my friend Barbara, and then they'll say, oh, hi, I'm Tom. How are you? Nice to meet you. But what are some of the...
You have a spouse who whispers in your ear, this is Janet.
Yeah. What are some of the mental exercises we can do to make ourselves better at remembering people's names and having... They say that former President Bill Clinton had something called total recall. In other words, he could remember somebody's name that he met 5 years ago. How do we, not that we can do that, but how do we become better at remembering little things like people's names?
Yeah, and a lot of people have these mnemonic things that they do, think about the way somebody looks and they connect it to something else. I'm not good at that. For me, there's three things I do. One is I repeat their name in my mind. So I'll say to somebody, Tom, it's really nice to meet you. And I'll use their name in conversation. I might even ask, and you might think this is crazy, but how do you spell that? Well, Tom is easy, you think, but a lot of people spell it T-H. Some people spell it T-H-O-M. So I might say, do you spell that as a traditional spelling, Tom, or is it T-H-O-M? And just saying that implants it in my brain that that's your name. So believe it or not, I do that even with John, because I know some people that spell it J-O-N versus J-O-H-N.
Usually short for Jonathan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and then use their name in conversation. So as you're talking to them, Tom, you use their name as you speak to them. Connect them with other people and say their name. Tom, let me introduce you to a friend of mine that's here at this event. And then you're introducing them to somebody that you already know. So you're using their name over and over again. Because those techniques help.
It is important, Dr. Meisner, because you wrote the book, Networking is a Marathon, Not a Sprint. And using people's names makes them feel good about themselves and makes them remember you. Like, gosh, it was so cool how Tom called me by name. He remembers my name. He thought I was important enough to call me by my name. And that is critically important to business, sales, networking, getting a job.
Yeah. It is. People do get a bit offended or feel a little put off if you forget their name. And that's why, getting the context and sometimes even when I say it's nice to see you and we're having a conversation and they don't give me context and I'll say, so, give me some context. When was the last time we spoke? And then they'll give it. And then it comes flooding back and it's easier to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, well, it's just such great advice. Real quick, before I let you go, because I was curious, what interested you about this topic? In other words, why did you decide to help people remember people's names?
Well, I run a networking organization with 347,000 members. So, it's kind of important to try to remember people's names. And I go to a lot of events. And meet people, and if I'm able to remember their name, it's really helps in the conversation. And they, just as you said, they feel better. That it's like, oh, hey, he remembered me, and he remembered the conversation. Which is, by the way, one of the things that I do is when I meet somebody and I get their card, I write on the back of their card something that we discussed, which works great in North America and Western countries. Don't do it in Asia. It's inappropriate to write on a business card in Asia, but in the United States, yeah, it's a bad form. But in the U.S., you can write on somebody's business card, or you might even say, hey, do you mind if I write a note on the back of your business card? They say, yeah, sure. And then by doing that, it helps you remember more about that person when you see them again.
Well, in an environment where everyone's trying to get a leg up in this society and in business, just great advice on how to remember somebody's name. Dr. Ivan Meisner, the author of the new book, Networking is a Marathon, Not a Sprint. Dr. Meisner out in Austin, Texas, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
Okay. Hey, we got some news. Do you take protein powder after you exercise? We got news on a new Consumer Reports investigation that I want to tell you about. It found that some protein powders and shakes have concerning levels of lead. It might be something that you look out for anyway, but the Consumer Reports Group first tested protein powders starting 15 years ago, and since then, protein products have grown in popularity in the nutrition and wellness craze. You might take it after you work out, for example. Unlike prescription over-the-counter drugs, Food and Drug Administration doesn't review, approve, or test supplements like protein powders, but you may want to be aware after this Consumer Reports investigation found lead in certain protein powders. There probably are websites that you can go to find out which contain the least amounts of lead, kind of like you might do with salt, table salt, for example. Lead is a huge thing where that is concerned. So just some information to pass along to you as we wrap up the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. We got a lot in today, as we always do, and we're so grateful you joined us for it all. The news continues now. It doesn't stop right here, right now.